Hey everyone, this is Left Jab bringing another Straw Hat crew member discussion video. Following the video on Luffy's strength, I would like to discuss Zoro's title as the first mate or vice captain in the series. More specifically, the question we face in this discussion today, is Zoro actually the vice captain? In order to arrive at our resolution, I'm going to need to explain what and who the first mates are, compare Zoro to our established definition, and then decide the two different outcomes I believe will happen in regards to Zoro being named the vice captain. First, we need to explain what a vice captain and or first mate is. Traditionally, in One Piece, we have seen the first mate take on the role by giving out orders when they are needed, backing up and protecting the captain against lesser opponents, and usually being the second strongest and taking on the enemy's second in command. We haven't seen too many second in commands in action in regards to shouting orders to the rest of the crew, but the closest example would be Marco of the Whitebeard Pirates shouting orders throughout the battle at Marineford, and more noticeably at the end when Whitebeard was close to being defeated. If you have a good crew, most of them will usually protect their captain from lesser enemies. During the war, we got to see many Whitebeard pirates block attacks from incoming enemies, such as Jozu and Marco. During the Bartolemeo arc, we saw Gin protect and defend his captain. We have seen Ben Beckman take on the mountain bandits with little trouble and Rayleigh hold off Kizaru. The caliber of strength the first mate holds is evident and seen throughout the series. They are someone their captain relies on to get the job done. Recently, Kaido relied on his second-in-command King to stop another Yonko, Big Mom. Now we need to see if Zoro stacks up to what a first mate demands. I am briefly going to go through each instance in the series Zoro displays vice captain traits. Zoro is the first crew member Luffy picks up and tells his captain that he won't forgive him if he ever gets in the way of his dream. This part is important down the road. In Orange Town, Zoro saves his captain from being blown up and then takes on the next strongest fighter there. He also has a difficult dream that is only eclipsed by his captain's loftier ambition, stated when he took on Mihawk at the Bartolemeo. At Arlong Park, he takes out many enemies and the swordsmen of the Fishman Pirates, but it's unclear if Hachi is the second in command or not. At Whiskey Peak, Zoro is one of the two crewmates to keep a clear head and then take down 100 bounty hunters. In Alabasta, Zoro has a great speech to Chopper about what makes them a special group and complete amazing feats. He says they rely on each other to be the best they can in order to help each other out. Teamwork by relying on the others to do great on their own. Later in the arc, the hierarchy is officially laid out when Luffy fights Mr. Zero and Zoro fights Mr. One. It continues with Sanji and the other members taking on the next strongest. On Jaya, an amazing scene happens when Luffy gets thrashed by Bellamy and Zoro holds his katana to his neck. Bellamy then asks, "What do you think you're doing?" Zoro replies, "I was going to ask you the same thing," getting ready to back up his captain no matter what. Then, following Luffy's orders to not fight back and get beaten up. In Skypiea, Zoro takes out many foes and is one of the last standing against the main enemy. In the Foxy arc, yes, I know Foxy sucks, Zoro gives a speech about being a man and whatever happens to the crew, because that is the bet the captain made. When Usopp leaves the crew, Zoro is the one to stand by Luffy and tell him they need their captain to not question himself so they can follow and trust him. Later, it is revealed that he tells the crew they aren't just playing pirates, and if Usopp joins the crew without asking for forgiveness, he won't forgive him and will leave the crew, explaining that he wants their captain to be respected and not walked all over. He wants everyone to take being a part of this crew seriously. Earlier, at Enies Lobby, it continues the trend of the hierarchy and even shows a power scale of the strongest enemies. Zoro then goes on to fight and defeat the second strongest member of CP9. Because of being the second member of the crew to get a bounty after Alabasta, his bounty goes over 100 million after the Enies Lobby incident. During Thriller Bark, Zoro's most famous moment happens where he takes on a second warlord after already facing and defeating one prior with the help of Luffy and the crew. Kuma is after Luffy's head and says he will let them all go if he can take in Luffy. They all refuse and get knocked out by the Ursa shock. Zoro is one of the few to get back up after the blast. He fights Kuma and pleads with him not to take his captain and to take him instead. Kuma considers the offer only to get interrupted by Sanji wanting to do the same. Zoro knocks out Sanji so he can be taken by Kuma. In this moment, Zoro realizes he can never be the greatest swordsman if he can't even save his captain. He puts his dreams aside so he can allow his captain to continue to pursue his dream of being the Pirate King. Kuma realizes Zoro put him in a position that if he takes Luffy anyway, he would not be honorable. He offers a solution in which he expels the pain Luffy has obtained from the battle and has Zoro take on that pain. The crew make it to Sabaody and learn that Luffy and Zoro are part of a group of the 11 best rookies, known as the 11 Supernovae, due to their bounty being over 100 million. Zoro being one of the two that are not the captain. After the crew gets separated, he puts his pride aside and asks his enemy to train him to become strong enough to get Luffy to become the king of the pirates. Zoro trains for 2 years and returns strong enough to move on to the new world. On Punk Hazard, Zoro once again spurs on Luffy and tells him they aren't playing games, this is the new world, let's take this seriously. On Dressrosa, Zoro defeats the second-in-command Pika. Finally, when they arrive to Zou, he makes a speech about needing to make sure they aren't biting off more than they can chew by taking on 2 Yonkos at a time. Zoro is always concerned about taking being a pirate seriously, giving their captains support and respect, and making sure they are the strongest that they can be. He always takes on the second-in-commands of the enemy, and even states to Pika, our captain doesn't have time to bother with you. Zoro always has Luffy's back and goes above and beyond to make sure his captain succeeds, especially on Thriller Bark. Zoro is overqualified, if anything, to be named the first mate or vice captain, and is often mistaken for being the captain due to his strength. But why hasn't he officially taken on the title? I have 2 theories. Zoro is clearly second strongest and second in command, but because of Luffy and the way he handles things, it may not be his style to create rank among the crew. We know Luffy hates when people think they are better than others because of their status or position. The counter of that would be he would trust Zoro enough to not act that way. But maybe he just wants a crew of equality, just as he wants with everyone's island he lands on. That could be the case. But the other theory I have that I really enjoy is because Oda is waiting for an epic moment to bestow that title on Zoro. Now most of you are probably thinking, I bet Oda doesn't even care enough to do this, but I can tell you why he does. Like I said earlier, early on in the series, people thought Zoro was the captain due to his strength. Zoro has been the #1 crewmate to take responsibility and to state what he will stand for and encourage his captain to stand for the same, which is often higher resolve and respect. Oda has created many crews who have vice captains, the most notable, the Pirate King's right-hand man, Dark King Rayleigh. The last thing I have to add to support this thought is in Dressrosa. Bartolemeo is super excited to see Zoro and goes on a rant about Zoro and his feats. He says Zoro is hailed by me, the vice captain, Luffy's right hand. Why would Oda go out of his way to mention something like this if he doesn't want to eventually explore the depths of what Zoro can be and will be? Regardless, we all know Zoro is one of the most epic characters in One Piece, and I'm sure many of you will always refer to him as the vice captain, regardless of recognition. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Have a blessed day.